Dear participants, so on behalf of KS Rangasamy College of Technology, Department of Biotechnology, in association with Nature Science Foundation, so we are into the 21 days virtual course on research methodology. Now the day 8 session 2 part. So the session will be handled by Dr. Lakshmi Madam. She is a director and then KSR School of Management in our group of institution. So already she has delivered one lecture. So you might be all aware of her introduction. Now we can move on to the session to Dr. Lakshmi Madam. So now she is ready with the presentation. Ma'am, now this is your time. You can just deliver lectures on the stage participants.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Good morning to one and all. Rangasamy College of
Good morning.
Technology and Nature Science. Yes, good morning. On behalf of the KS Rangasamy College of Technology, I thank the Nature Science Foundation for providing me an opportunity to give a lecture on ethics in research. In the previous session, we discussed in detail regarding the IPR formalities. What are all the things we have to follow regarding IPR protection and so on. How the research were very important for IPR protection and so on. In today's research, we are going to discuss in detail regarding the ethics in research. Ethics, and this presentation is purely made for academic purpose. So this presentation which I am going to do in today's session is purely for academic purpose. Next slide, sir. Content of this presentation. In this presentation, I'll be going to discuss in detail regarding the definition of ethics, principles of ethics, and plagiarism. So why this ethics is said to be very, very important in research. That first I will be discussing. Then what are all the integral part of the principles of ethics that will be discussing in detail. Then the last part is plagiarism. This is said to be very, very important aspect of the item which we have to follow regarding the ethical background is concerned. Now, we can pass on to the definition of ethics. Ethics can be defined in many ways. When you take ethics, it is called as societal norms. For a group of people, you have to do this. You should not do that. Like that, they'll be giving some norms and conditions. That is also called as ethics. But there is another definition. It is a conception of conduct that is right or wrong. You are doing something. You may not be knowing whether it is ethically right or wrong. And if any person is telling that it is right or wrong, that is also called as a ethics. And actually, ethics is very, very important for fundamental human relationship. Human relationship can be strengthened only through the ethics. That's why in the previous presentation, I told you, though he is said to be your friend, without his permission, you cannot use not even his pen or a pencil. So it is a very basic thing for fundamental human relationship. And it is a universal human trait because when you say what are all the traits of the individuals in the universe, one of the basic trait of the universe in the human individuals are concerned is said to be the ethics. Now we can pass on to the ethical principles. The first and foremost principle is said to be human dignity. Yes, human dignity. It is the basic principle of ethics. When you say this human dignity, it is connected with the person who is conducting research. At the same time, the person in which subject or which context he is conducting the research. Suppose he is going to study about the individual behavior, or suppose he is going to study about in management studies and all. No, will be conducting research regarding the customer's opinion regarding the product or employees satisfaction with regard to the organization. In all those cases, the dignity of the individual should be maintained, and it is the responsible for the researcher. He has to follow human dignity because while he is conducting a survey. Especially these kind of problem arises only in social sciences, because in the scientific research and all, if it is said to be physics or chemistry or biotechnology or nanoscience technology or food technology and all, they are laboratory based. They are called as a experimental research. Whereas in social sciences, you are going to conduct a research with the human beings. You may be conduct in the form of observation, or you may be conducting in the form of a survey, or you can be conducting the form of a there is a putting questions and getting the answer. So these are all the various format you are following here. Therefore, it is said to be the basic responsibility of the researcher to follow human dignity. And when you take this human dignity, it is based on two essential components. One is said to be the selection, another one is said to be the achievement. While you are selecting the research component itself, you must be utmost care. The topic I am choosing, in no circumstances, it will not create problem for the human dignity. So that is said to be the one thing. The next one, what is the outcome you are expecting to get out of the research should also maintain human dignity. In no circumstances, one research should affect the any person's psychology or cultural integrity. You may be noticing the present situations in America because of the practices. There is how there is a problem between the caste and there is thing religions. The problems are arising. Likewise, in your research, in no circumstances you should not do any research which is affecting the human dignity. Then the next one is said to be consent. Consent is very, very important. All individuals are having the capacity. Yes, you are having right to make your own decision, but in the research, the consent is very, very important. For example, PhD and all, only in some universities, people are very successful in doing the research privately. Many of the universities, there are certain formalities. First, you have to get the entrance exam. Before that, you have to get the consent of the supervisor. And you are, once you are clearing the exam, we probably then will be making a panels of the members. They are called as there is the members, the panel members. They will be making you make a presentation. And all these things, no, in all the stages, the consent is said to be very, very important. Once research cannot proceed without consent. First, you have to get the consent of the university. Next, you have to get the consent of the supervisor. Then next, you have to get the board and the members in the committee. Very important. And this should be maintained throughout, starting from the choosing the topic, ending with a report writing. Many of you are attending this program, maybe knowing the formalities connected with the research. Every time while you are choosing the topic, the research supervisor will be guiding you. Don't go for a vast topic. You use funnel method. You choose a topic in such a way that within the time framework, you are in a position to do the research. Therefore, you have to get the there is a doctoral committee members' consent. You have to get the consent of the university. You have to get the consent of the supervisor. In all the steps, the consent is very, very important. That's why it is the second principle of there is the ethics in research. Now we can pass on to the third principle, vulnerable persons. Because when you take the research, everybody is not said to be very good in doing the research. Some people they are not having enough information about the research at all. They are, for them, the responsibility is to be more. So each and every stage, they are having diminishing competence. They used to say in ethical perspective, they are told as people having diminishing competence. They are not very competent. They are not having any decision-making capacity. Whatever the supervisor is asking him or her to do, they are doing. So those people, for them, the responsibility is said to be more. As they like, they should not do anything. They should be very fair enough in collecting the data, in protecting the data, and what are all the special procedures given for them, they have to follow, because supervisors themselves may be knowing that suppose under a supervisor, 10 members are registering, he or he can easily identify this candidate can do well, this candidate is vulnerable person. So they will be making the differences. If the other persons are under him or her, she will be making so much protection for that person. And these people also should know the responsibility of the research they are conducting. So they were entitled to special protection, special procedures, and they protect their interest. As they like, they should not do. They suppose if they are not confident, they have to accept the confidence. Because in no circumstances, in all the individuals are knowing everything. That's why they used to say, we are knowing little, but unknown is said to be a ocean. So you have to accept your vulnerability, and you have to accept to the supervisor that I am not good in making decision. So you can help me, you can guide me. What sort of the review I can do, what sort of topic I can do, what sort of the sample size I can decide. All these things, you have to follow the supervisor. You may be saying in some of the actors and actresses are getting there, and there is best actor award or best actress award. They used to say, no, I am a director's candidate. I am not knowing anything. What the director is asking me to do, I am doing that. Likewise, there is a they have to accept the supervisor, and whatever the idea the supervisor is asking them to do, whatever the decision they are giving, they have to obey. So this is the third principle, especially for the vulnerable persons. Then the fourth one is said to be privacy and a confidentiality. Because you are doing the research, and for that research, especially this is the important ethical principle given for the social sciences. Even for a physical sciences also, it is said to be important, but it is more connected with the social sciences like history, economics, management, commerce, and so on. In no circumstances you should not affect the privacy of the individual. Why I am very particular about the social sciences? Only in social sciences like management, economics, and commerce, we are going for the questionnaire. You are preparing a questionnaire, you are collecting the data, and you are interpreting the data, and you are finding the, you are writing the conclusion. So, whatever the data you are collecting from the people, that you have to maintain secretly. You have to maintain those details confidentiality. So confidentiality is said to be very, very important, because you can collect the data, but in no circumstances you should not disseminate the data for others. That's why in many of the interviews, while they are interviewing, they will be very careful in collecting the information, in recording the information, or administering the information. That is the responsibility of the researcher also. Especially in social sciences, when you are conducting the research or survey, only two people are indulged. One is said to be the researcher, another one is said to be the respondent. The respondent or the people, whatever the questions the researchers are posing, they are giving answers for that. So they are having utmost trust on you that you will be maintaining the details confidentially. So you have to maintain their details. It ensures confidentiality. You should not bring any problem to the respondents later. What the data they are giving, you have to maintain confidentiality. That's why in doctors, while they are taking the Hippocratic oath, the doctors will say that in no circumstances, I will not reveal any of the information of the patient to others. Because only if the close circle, they'll be revealing that information. That's why they used to say, in the famous saying in English is, don't lie to the doctor and don't lie to the lawyers. They were said to be the people, they are authentic to keep your information secretly, information confidentially. The same authentic person is said to be the researcher also. Whenever you collect the information from others, you have to maintain confidentiality. So this is the fourth principle of ethics. Now we can pass on to the fifth principle, justice and inclusiveness. Because justice is said to be the important aspect of the research. It is dealing with the fair. It is dealing with because when two persons are doing a job, they both are having the same justice because they started the work the same manner. They are doing the effort, they are putting their effort the same manner, but getting the results it differ from one person to one person. Also, depending upon that, you have to do the justice. For example, we teachers used to say that while writing the assignments, one person is struggling so much and making so much references and writing the assignment. Another person not even getting his consent, copying and producing the assignment means it is not said to be justice, because the first one is deserving the full mark, another one is not deserving the full mark. If a teacher is giving the same mark for both of them, it is not said to be justice. That's why this is called as the application process of the justice. The supervisor will be knowing very well that whether the data collected by the researcher is said to be correct, whether he met the particular person, interviewed that person, and followed the questionnaire, recorded the data, everything she is or he is in a position to identify, because justice is said to be very, very important. While conducting the research, the researcher should keep it in mind that he is doing the research completely, because some people know because of hurry, and then they will be willing to do the research within 3 years. Now, suppose it is extending 6 years. Beyond that, also the universities are extending, but they may be having some vow. Within 3 years, I have to finish up the research. Because of that, what idea they were making out of that research, they won't be completing it properly. So that is called as inclusiveness. What purpose you have taken the topic, what purpose you are doing that research, it should be completed. It should not be done in a haphazard manner. So that is called as the important principle of this ethics, inclusiveness. So in general, in this justice and inclusiveness, you are having two processes. One is said to be procedural justice, and one is said to be distributive justice. Just because you are conducting the research, haphazardly to conduct research, it is not under proper procedure. So that is connected with a procedure. The second one is you are giving some conclusion which is not valid, which is not useful to the society. In some cases, it may become harm effect to the society. Then it is called distributive justice. Therefore, this is said to be very, very important principle. Just because you are a PhD, are conducting a research and it cannot have any impact in the society, then you are not doing justice for your research. That's why in philosophy, they have taken it as an important principle, namely justice and inclusiveness. Then the next important principle is said to be harms and benefits. Whenever you do one work, definitely it may lead to some problems. A researcher should keep in mind that in his research should not harm others. For example, you are conducting a survey among the poor people, and when collecting the data, you may be noticing their status of living, you may be noticing their standard of living, you may be noticing how they are maintaining hygiene, cleanliness, and so on. All these things should not bring to the notice of the receiver book. One person long ago, they have given a wrong picture about India. India is a place where you can see more of snakes, more of the people doing all those. There is what they used to say. They are not doing any useful activity. That was said to be the imagine for the Western years, but it took so many years for the people to change their image from that image to the now the current image about the Indians. Oh, Indians are said to be scholarly persons. They are very famous for there is a critical thinking. They are very famous for reasoning. They are good in mathematics. All these things came to know only in the after the there is the 18th and the 19th century. Earlier and all, when you go for India, thinking that you are underdeveloped, we are developed all the way. Because this the past. That's why while you are doing the research, it should not bring harm to you. While you doing the research itself, you have to identify because of this research whether the society will be benefited, country will be benefited, whether my college will be benefited, whether I myself will be benefited, or others will be benefited. Everything you have to go through nook and corner. Then only you have to conduct the research. Harm and benefit analysis. Because we management people always used to say that SWOT analysis: strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Similarly, for ethical philosophy is telling that harm benefit analysis. If we are doing one research, what are all the harms coming out of that? What are all the benefits coming out of that? Both you can perform this thing. You can weigh between in one circumstances. The benefits are said to be that of the harm. Then that research is said to be a good research. Okay. So harm benefit analysis is said to be very much important when you are indulging in the research. Next principle, non-malfeasance. The non-malfeasance is a Greek word. It is nothing but what are the deficiencies? Non-deficiency. Your research should not have any deficiency. It is the duty of the research to avoid or prevent or minimize the harm. In no circumstances, your research should not lead to harm to others. In no circumstances, it should not lead to deficiency. Because when they are going through your research analysis, as per the university's report, whoever is completing PhD, one copy of the research report will be there in the Delhi University, or there will be in the Statistical Research Center for 10 years. Within 10 years, if any of the research work you have done is identified some other person is having some deficiency, they may file a case in the court of law. Therefore, while doing the research, you have to prepare the report, you have to do the research in such a way that it is not having any deficiency. Involvement is necessary. Okay, I am so much involved. I am so much involved in doing the research. I am very much in selecting the sample. I am very much interested in collecting the data. Okay, all these are all good. At the same time, you are going to conduct survey with the human beings. You have to show the respect, because in English they say give respect, take respect. While you are conducting survey among the people, you should respect them. You have to wait for them. You should not hurry them in answering their questions. They may be busy with, they may be preoccupied, they may be busy with some other work, they may be having some other these issues. Under such circumstances, you have to ask them when it is convenient for me to meet you, collect the data. All these are all said to be the important items, which is called as a deficiency part of that. If your research should be of non-deficiency. Because if you are not getting their consent and you as you like you go and as you are forcing, definitely you won't be getting any information which are said to be a true information. It will be only biased information. So minimizing harm requires smallest number of human subject. Human subject in the sense, for example, in management studies, we used to say that, okay, suppose you want to know the consumer's opinion about the particular product, okay, you take only the FMCG products, or you can take the this comfortable goods, or you can take the luxurious goods. Don't take all the goods together. Don't take goods and services together. Likewise, if the subject very there is a the subject should be in such a way that it is easy for you to conduct the research. That's why the statement is coming. Smallest number of human subject is giving you the valid data. Because in the research, 3 years you have to complete the PhD. And it will be extending for another 3 years. And they will be giving at the most 2 extension or 3 extension. More than that, if you are asking extension, then it is not good on your part. Therefore, they are asking you to go for the topic which are said to be very smallest and which are giving you the reliable data. The next one is beneficence. It is another Greek word. Beneficence is nothing but benefits. The duty of the researcher is to conduct the research for the benefit of others. His duty is to maximize the benefit, minimize. So the research should produce a benefit to himself first, and then to the society, and then to the institution on behalf, on behalf of which he is doing that research. He should produce benefit to the society because when you say Amartya Sen, he is said to be a famous Nobel laureate and he has discovered, everybody in economics, they used to say that there may be some participants having economics background. You may be knowing that we studied one concept of poverty line. The poverty line, everybody say that each individual should have food, clothing and shelter. Suppose if they don't have, we can say that they are Kara platform or they are below the poverty line. But nobody know that what is that poverty line. For that, Amartya Sen has conducted research and has got Nobel Prize. So whenever you are conducting research, first it should give benefit to you, then it should give benefit to the institution, then it should give benefit to the society. So as far as the research or ethical philosophy is concerned, your research is enhancing the knowledge of others, or your research is providing societal benefit is said to be very, very important. Then the next one, confidentiality and anonymity. This is the 9th important principle of the of the ethical philosophy. Greater the quality, greater will be the benefit for the researcher. Because if I am, you are thinking that I am your mentor, and know that I'll be maintaining confidential regarding your information, then you will have the intention to make your friend also to come to me. Because if I am announcing myself as a counselor, if I am announcing myself as a mentor, and I should show you that the trust and confidentiality, it is not built on a single day. Over a period of time only, people will be realizing how much you are in a position to maintain confidentiality. So greater the confidentiality, greater will be the benefit for the researcher. Because, okay, this person is collecting the data, not for any other purposes. Only for academic purpose, he is collecting the data. So they will be having the threats on you, they'll be having opinion on you. So the researchers should have the tendency, while you are collecting the data also, you must collect the data sincerely. For example, I can be also always say, jokingly to my friends, a person went to this respondent to collect information about the Lux soap. And while explaining the Lux soap, he said that, you know that the Lux soap, no, Sridevi came as a model for the Lux soap. Instead of that, the Lux soap, Sridevi. So, the thing, no, anonymity. So this you should not do that because your purpose, no, you are going there, you are collecting the data from the respondents for your research. In no circumstances you should not deviate from your aim or objective. So you have to observe the information correctly and you have to record the information secretly. And there is lot of chances, because people know, you suppose your boss is asking, yes, you are doing the research, what the consumers say. Are they satisfied? Are they not satisfied? Just because he is said to be your boss, you should not reveal the information to him. Your ultimate aim is to complete the report and submit the conclusion. Till then, you should not reveal the information to anyone else. Even the person asking you is said to be your ultimate boss. So that is said to be the important aspect of a confidentiality and anonymity. Okay, madam, why they are keeping all these 9 principles there in the ethics? Because research will not be completed if you are not following that research. It will be completed only if you are going for this, all these 9 principles. So what you are getting out of this 9 principles, that is called as the importance of ethical principles. Essential these items which you are getting out of these 9 principles can be listed as follows. It is giving respect for human dignity. When you follow ethics in research, the first and foremost importance is said to be, it is giving dignity for the human beings. If I say human beings, it is referring to both the person, those who are conducting research, as well as the person, those who are respected researcher. Okay. So the next slide. Yes. Respect for human dignity. And the second one, respect for free and informed consent. Because you are giving, as you like, you are not making decision. You are giving response to your supervisor. You are giving respect to your DC members. You are giving respect to the audience. So on the basis of that, you are proceeding with the research. Therefore, you are knowing free and informed consent is very much essential for doing the research, whether it is physical science or it is social science. And next one is respect for vulnerable persons. Suppose any of your fellow mate doing research is said to be a vulnerable person, you should not exploit them. Instead of you go and collect the data, you are making him to go and collect the data for you. That you should not do. So that is unethical. Then respect for privacy and confidentiality. So whatever the respondent are giving you the answers for your questions in the questionnaire, you have to maintain secretly, you have to maintain confidentiality. Then the respect for justice and inclusiveness. Whatever the research you are doing, it should have value and it should have justice and it should be complete. You are giving the data, not fully collecting the data, just you are following interpolation, extrapolation methods and are cooking, and you are cooking the data, giving the results, that and all should not be done by the researcher. Then balancing the harms and benefits. When you conduct the research, what is the benefit? What is the harm? Both you have to take into consideration. Whenever the benefits are said to be more than harm, you can go ahead with the research. Whenever the harms are said to be more than benefits, you can research. Then you have to minimize the this harm and you have to maximize the benefit. And you have to maintain confidentiality. So these are all the takeaways from the ethical principles. So, so far I explained so much about the ethical principles. Dilemma. In management studies, we used to say you have to follow the corporate governance. For example, a person is selected as a bank employee, and they have interview, get the appointment. And the bank officials are telling you, tomorrow you can come to the bank sharply by 10 a.m. Okay, very first day, he is enthusiastic enough. He is going to the bank sharply by 10 a.m. But while he is seated in his place, he can notice all other officials in the banks are coming late, and they are coming. Somebody are coming by 10:15, somebody are coming by 10:30, somebody are coming even after 11 o'clock and so on. But he should not notice all these things because the official who has selected have given him the instruction that you have to be there at the bank by 10 a.m. Similarly, while you are doing the research, you have to follow this principle. Yes, you have to follow these principles. I used to say, unless and until if it is good night for you, it won't be good morning for you. Because if you are doing the research by not following any of these ethical principles and you are completing the research, you may also get the degree, but the research which you have done in unethical way will not making you to have either good night or good morning. It will be always pricking your thing. Yes, I have not done that. I am not said to be justice. I am not just done the work very ethical. So all these things, no, to avoid well in advance, my humble request to all the researchers, those who are pursuing research, either it may be MPhil degree or it may be PhD degree in engineering or PhD degree in bioscience or whatever the courses, you have to follow all these ethical principles. If anyone is asking you to go for ethics, if you follow, you will be getting joy out of that. That is that joy or the experience you are feeling out of that is, it is unmountable. It is said to be unlimited as such. So my humble request, all the audience, those who are pursuing Please remember that these principles are said to be very, very important. That's why ethics in research is said to be inevitable. Here and there, some people are doing the mistake because there are such people, those who are ethically doing the research, please try to follow suit. That is my humble request. Now, I am going for the next last part of the presentation, namely the plagiarism. Because in many of the cases, the plagiarism is being a victim for the researcher. Many of the people know, they are not knowing that how to avoid this plagiarism. Actually, the plagiarism is a Latin word. The meaning of that Latin word is to kidnap. Somebody is having something, you are kidnapping that information, or you are kidnapping his possession without knowing them. That is called as the plagiarism. There are certain examples for plagiarism. Copying someone's work without proper citation. Somebody has done the research, he has given some quotations, he has given some statement, and you are liking that statement without giving citation, you are using, that is called a plagiarism. Stealing someone else's ideas. You are getting someone else's ideas and using in your research work, that is also called as a plagiarism. Stealing someone else's intellectual property. That day I told you that how you are showing interest towards protecting your intellectual property, the same interest you have to show for others also. Don't use others' work without getting their consent. So if you are stealing others' intellectual property, that is also called as a plagiarism. So what is the bottom line out of this? Cite sources properly. Whenever you are using other person's the possession or their other person's ideas, other person's statements, other person's wordings, you have to cite them properly. And while using the quotations in your research and all, no, put within quotes. Don't write it as a sentence. Anything given in quotes means that will show to the people, those who are evaluating your thesis, that it is not your wordings you have taken from some other ones. So you have to properly cite for that. So these are all the things. Now I can go in detail regarding this plagiarism. The first one, what is plagiarism? The definition of plagiarism: to steal and pass off as one's own ideas or the words of another. So this is said to be the perfect definition given by the there is the ethical philosophy. To steal and pass off the ideas and words of another as one's own. You are stealing others' information as it is of own. If you do so, that is called as a plagiarism. You are using another's production without crediting the sources. Even if you take another person's there is a pencil, you have to say, sorry, excuse me, shall I use it? Like that you have to say and use it. If you are using other person's possession without their consent, that is called as a plagiarism. Yes. And in it now I have to go in depth regarding this definition. The inclusion of the word steal in this definition includes instances when others' ideas or the words are used without crediting the sources. You are taking some other person's idea without consent, and sometimes you may use intentionally, sometimes you may use unintentionally, but if you are not giving citation, definitely it is noted that you have done theft. That's why they say steal. Even accidentally using another's ideas or the words without proper citation due to carelessness, and it is called as the pass off. Okay, what is that? I have taken his idea and I have used in my research. What is that? If you ask, that is called as pass off. You are doing something and that is unethical. Unintentionally, you may do that. If you are not realizing that, you are just passing it off. That is called as the plagiarism. That's why while using others' wordings while using others' ideas, you have to follow proper citation. That's why in almost all the universities, they are keeping one chapter as review of related literature. They are permitting you to use the literature of a other university instances. Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Audible, ma'am. Audible.
Audible.
I'm just sharing the screen.
Okay. Yes, yes. Okay. So while you are even accident, yes, yes, clear.
Yes, ma'am. Clear, clear.
Yes, even accidentally using another's ideas or the words with without proper citation due to carelessness falls under this definition. Therefore, you must be very careful in using other person's ideas. So that the citation is said to be very, very important. But we people know, we practice in the common parlance cut and paste. Okay, if we get any sentence, no, will be copy, cut and paste. In technical world, it is allowed, but in academic world, no, it is said to be unethical practice. Okay, you should not use others' ideas without consent from them. So please avoid copy and paste in your academic research. It may be accepted in computer, but not in academic area. Okay, yes. And as it core, plagiarism is an ethical issue. A writer who submits plagiarized work committing theft with the hope of benefiting from the theft means you may be there is done that work, but what all the harmful effects he is getting, he is not noticing. It should be avoided by the researcher because it is compromising his integrity. Okay, because you are doing the research, not your own hard work, not your own effort. You are making benefit out of others' work. That should be avoided. That you are compromising your integrity. Not only that, and you will be losing your respect in the society. Not only you, your supervisor will get affected. Your peer group will get affected. So you should not do this stealing or passing off others' work. And you suppose if you are going for a there is some sort of professional institutions. You want to get a bigger post like from assistant professor to associate professor or professor and so on. Nobody will be ready to refer you. So you have to take in mind, if we are using other sources without proper citation, without proper consent, you will be facing all these consequences. First, you are losing your dignity. Secondly, your supervisor will be getting affected. Then your peer researchers will get affected. And your professional career also will be getting affected. And suppose in the organization you are working, they want to give you leadership position, they'll be having they will be giving that post immediately. They having so much hesitant to give you that leadership post. While you are doing plagiarism, you have to take into consideration that what are all the foreseeable effects. It is not a small time benefit. It is said to be over a period of time, it may be leading to losses. Moreover, the affected person may sue a case in the court of law. Because of you have conducted research by referring to some other person's work, not even giving consent, they may file a case in the court of law. You may be noticing in civil every now and time, any of the famous actor or actress movies coming, one person from the fag end of India, he will be filing a case in the court of law, that story is mine. So this is said to be the common phenomena, but in the research, it is actually happening. If you are not giving proper consent, definitely they'll be suing court of law. So if they are suing the case in the court of law, your credibility will get affected. So you won't be allowed to do the research further. Not only in the particular university where you but in other universities also. That's why in almost all the universities, they are very keen in checking the plagiarism of the report. Okay. Yes. Then the next one. Yes. How to avoid this plagiarism? Sir, go to the next slide. How to avoid plagiarism? Why should avoid why should avoid plagiarism? I have explained it. Next, how to avoid plagiarism. So while you are indulging these kind of practices, there are certain people that they are giving some ideas how to avoid this plagiarism. The first and foremost step is cite your sources. Okay, if you use any word or any idea, yes, if you use any word, any idea, hello, some
Yes, madam.
disturbance
No,
is
now,
coming. Okay.
I have muted, ma'am. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Now, if you use any word or idea of others, you have to cite the sources properly. For that, you have to refer previous research, how they have given the acknowledgement, how they have given the references. All these things you have to note it down. Suppose each and every review of literature, they are quoting that. Sir, some disturbances are there. Some disturbances are coming, sir. So you have to cite your source. The second one, you have to include quotations. While using other person's definition, put it in quote. You have to put the ideas in quote. For example, if I am defining economics, if I am quoting Alfred Marshall or Adam Smith, I should not use it as such it is. I have to put that definition in quote. So this is the second step or second tip to avoid plagiarism in your research. And the third one, paraphrase the wordings. Rewriting the sources ideas in your own sentence. For example, some people are defining the concept in their own way. You try to understand that meaning of the definition or the depth of the definition, put it in your own words. If you are writing in your own words, nobody will say that you have done plagiarism. Okay, so that is called as paraphrase. You are understanding their statement, you are understanding their definition and putting it in your own way. That is called as paraphrasing. And the next idea is present your own idea. In some cases, no, you are conducting the research, especially in the social sciences and all. We have to prepare a questionnaire. We have to contact the data. We have to record the data. We have to go for it. There is a tabulation, classification, all those steps and so on. In those cases, while you are interpreting the data, you have to use your own idea. By using your own idea, that should not be followed in all the articles you are going to present based on your research also. Suppose if you use the same wordings, some people are always fond of using good shelves for your good shelves, greetings of the day. Like that, they are often using that terminology. If they try to use in all the articles, it may be called as a self-plagiarism. So you must be very careful enough in using the wordings. If you use one set of wordings in one set of presentation, the same articles, the same presentation should not be repeated in other places. So this is called as a self-plagiarism. You yourselves are creating plagiarism for you. You are how they used to say, you are breaking your own record. Likewise, you are creating plagiarism for yourself. But you should not repeat in all the articles the same wordings. You put it in another way, okay? Because it is in English, you are having so many wordings. You can use because whenever you are using a wording, you go for the checking of synonyms. The synonym will tell you what type of wordings, different words you can use it. In economics, we always say, for example, I am putting a diagram. I will say that I have drawn a diagram. I have depicted a diagram. I have shown a diagram. So like that, for the same wordings, I'm using different word so that self-plagiarism is not coming into the research. So you have to take into consideration instead of there is a parroting the sources words. Sources in the sense the person you are referring using their words for your ideas, for your research, that should be avoided. It should repeat in all the articles you write the same wordings. Different article, different set of wordings, so that you can avoid plagiarism. Then use a plagiarism checker. This is said to be very, very important. Now in Anna University, almost all the supervisors have given Urgunde connection. So suppose any of our scholars are writing any articles, we can put it in Urgun and check that is there any plagiarism and so on. So while conducting your research on a topic or some phrases or sentences, you may be having intention to use it. For example, I myself is having some idea of, if I say some of the ideas or some of the wordings, if I like most, why can't I use it? I may have that thing, but I should not do that. I have to put
Madam,
it in my
sorry, madam, the presentation is not there.
Yes, sir. I'm just sharing it. Yeah, 2 minutes. You can just hold on.
Hello,
yes,
sir.
Madam, yes, madam. You can proceed, ma'am. Only that
Yes.
slide sharing, I have a net connection. I will just check it.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. So to avoid plagiarism, you may use online plagiarism checker like a Urgunde. So this is one of the reliable sources of online plagiarism checker. It is helping many of the scholars to check whether there is any plagiarism. And there is also possibility of self-plagiarism also. For example, what are all the informations already they have given there in that there is a previous article. If they use the same thing in the next article also, it will show you the plagiarism. So you must be very careful in using the wordings while you are there is writing the articles. So I thought of giving you this information. The people, those who are indulging in research, you must be very careful in doing the research by following ethical principles, ethical philosophy, and you have to do the research without any plagiarism. If you are doing the research or writing any article and it is checked properly with plagiarism, you will be getting satisfaction out of that. Your supervisor also will be happy and your research also will be highly commended by the foreign examiners as well as the internal examiners. Okay, so I thought of explaining these concepts in today's session. Now, on behalf of there is a Department of Management Studies, I take this opportunity to thank the organizers for giving me a chance to explain what are all the ethical principles the researchers have to follow while they are doing the research. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yes, sir. You can just ask questions.
Yes, sir.
It was a very beautiful presentation, ma'am. Regarding plagiarism, I want to ask you that. Suppose I'm doing research, and when I have to check my plagiarism,
Suppose
I have to go to university library because they have their softwares.
Yes, they are having software.
Yeah,
they are
but
having software in it. Yes.
Do we have online some softwares or free free software so that we can check and we know how much plagiarism score did we?
Even you are checking when you submit the article in the university, they'll be checking with their own software. That's why better to go with the university. Better to go with the university because there are some software. Yes.
But in online, whether any free software is available so that you can prepare in advance because every time.
Yes, you can do.
Sometimes we miss.
Yes. You sometimes you may miss. That's why your supervisor may be suggesting you to go for these kind of Urgund and all. For years together, no, in Anna University they are accepting this articles by checker through Urgund. Okay. So you have to go for that kind of plagiarism checker, which is giving 100% result for you. Okay, that's why you can use online also because there are some software which is helping you. The word is correct, the word is not correct. You can go for that. It is suggesting you. Even if you are sending mail also, it is giving you. Yes. Yes. Hello.
Can you name some, ma'am?
Yes, sir. Added to the madam because small SEO tool, that is one tool, online tool.
Yes.
Small SEO tool, that is the one tool you can use it. Then there is some checker. But the thing is, if you are not purchasing a live software, that is the word limit will be there. So you can give only introduction you can put and you can check it about plagiarism. But my madam said if you are using a Urgund or Turnitin software, it is a licensed software. All the universities having it. So that we can give you a compiled thesis like a 150 pages, 180 pages. At the time you can do it, you get a result. But when you're going for the online tool, you have to purchase the software, or you can. It is having a tool of only limiting 1,000 words only at a time you can do it. So that case you can use a small SEO tool. SEO tool.
Yes, sir.
Then
Yes, I got it.
plagiarism checker is there. Yeah.
Got it, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you,
That
sir. Thank you, sir.
that you
Thank
can
you.
check. Yeah. Any other
Hello.
question from participants to the madam?
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, good afternoon.
Ma'am, I have a question on plagiarism.
Yes.
Suppose, ma'am, if we want to publish a paper and in this
Yes.
COVID-19 time, we are stuck at our places, university, we are not in the university. So if we want to publish a
Okay.
paper, and for checking that, it is possible that we give it to the supervisor and he would check it
Yes.
for our, okay. And then, ma'am,
Okay.
I have one question and really, very confused about this. Suppose we checked it once and we have to submit the plagiarism report to the journal concerned, or if they would check it another time, and if they would check again, it would come under plagiarism.
No, you see, they know. Suppose, for example, one of my researcher is submitting synopsis, okay, and the synopsis she has given some ideas and so on. Again, she is submitting the full thesis, and it will show plagiarism. But the person those who are checking with Urgund, they know that it is repeating the same information given in the synopsis. So the journal people, they know pretty well. So where it is coming from, they identify self-plagiarism and all. That easily they can identify, they will remove that. They will be giving you some guidelines. For example, in Urgund, you are giving a article, it will giving you an analysis. So these words are repeated. You remove this, like that, it will giving you some suggestion. According to that suggestion, you can go ahead and you can make your article as a plagiarism free one. Okay? It is giving you your analysis report also. When you submit this Urgund, it is a licensed software. It is giving you the entire analysis also. Where it is the wordings you are using repeatedly, all these things it will be telling you. Okay? Now you understood here? Yes.
Ma'am, if we have checked it through the Urgund and it gave a 100% original result, so we have to submit that report also to the concerned journal.
Yes, you have to submit. They will, because that's why we are have done. There is very loyal to us, but they are.
Your voice is not clear, ma'am.
Which I did well. No problem.
The other participants you can mute on mute.
So you,
yeah, while yes, other participants you can mute. Then only anybody who want to ask question, you can unmute and you can ask the question. Now the other voices are coming. Hello, any other questions?
Hello, sir. Hello, madam.
Yes.
Madam.
Yes, sir.
I am Ajmal from Delhi. So
yes.
I prepared one article about ethics on research. So I humbly request you, if you could give your email address, I will send it to you. You just go through it.
Okay.
How is the contact? Contact.
Okay. Sir, I have given my email address and the contact number to the organizers. Now you can contact them. They'll be giving you, sir. No problem. Okay. They'll be giving you, sir. No problem. Next.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Anybody having any question? Then
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. This is Srimoy Mandal from English department. Firstly, thank you for such a such a wonderful presentation on ethics.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
ma'am, it enlightened us a lot. Ma'am, I have got one question. Regarding the ethics, there was one point written respect for vulnerable person. It was there.
Yes.
Ma'am,
Yes.
could you say a little bit about vulnerability? I mean, the vulnerable person.
For example, you English people are having very good command over language. You are having competent enough to write the articles, to write the report and all. But there are some people, no, they are not having that competency. So they should know their responsibility. So while using the words, no, they must be very careful because they are using certain words intentionally or unintentionally that should not lead to any problem later. So the ethical responsibility for the vulnerable persons are said to be more than that of the competent persons like others. Because the supervisor, I am having two candidates. One is very good enough. He is very good command over language. He is having competency. But another person is not having that competency. He cannot do any decision making and all. No, the supervisor will be taking care of that person more than that of the first one. Because he may be having interest to do the research, but not that much competent enough. So you should know the responsibility. Because no, some people may create a mistake through ignorance. No, that is called as the ethics for the vulnerable persons. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I am Mrs. Prajna Patil. I just like to ask you about the plagiarism. In review paper, how much percentage of plagiarism is allowed?
In review paper, now the Anna University is giving up to 12 to there is 15% as far as our management studies is concerned. I don't know about other papers and all, okay? Because even in the review paper, you may be referring some sources, no? And that's why, it is allowed, not more than 12%. I don't know about other, there is a disciplines. In management discipline, no, they are allowing up to 11 to 12%. I may be asking the other persons if they have any knowledge, they can give their ideas. Hello?
I belong to physics department, ma'am, but formulas and some definitions, it is as it is. So how to means of course it is plagiarism. Then what we have to do for it? For formulas, particularly for formulas.
Yes. Sir, formulas and all, no, you have to use as sir, you can tell, sir. Yes.
Yes, madam. So regarding any general submission, generally you have to be minimum 10 to 15%. Because what madam said, like a synopsis and thesis. Because in case of formulas, you can cite it because you are repeating it. You can cite the source. So where that formula, who is the author, then you can cite it. Then you will be ready. So whenever you submit any report, then again the journal is also going to check whether that particular article is having a plagiarism or not. So if you cite properly, then it is having no issues. You can easily get it published.
If I cite it, so it is not considered as a plagiarism because formula I am using as it is.
Yes. Yeah. If you cite,
but you have to mention which formula. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is not.
For example, finding out elasticity, I am using the Young's modulus formula for it. Stress upon strain. So such kind of a basic formulas we are using. So at that time, how to avoid the plagiarism?
Yes, for that you have to put the source in this formula. Okay. You have to mention source that formula. Which formula you have used like that. In economics and all, we'll be using like this. For example, if it is the survey data, you have to use the source primary data. If it is the secondary data, source secondary data. If it is the formula, mention that formula. De Morgan's law. Or you can mention any sort of the law you are using, you mention source that. So if it is there, no problem. Yes?
Yes, now it is clear, right?
Hello?
Hello, ma'am.
Any other question?
Actually, your voice is not clear for me.
Ma'am, you have to put
Yeah.
the source.
Please,
ma'am.
can you repeat it?
Ma'am, you are using one formula, no? You put a source, that formula. So you have taken the formula from that source, you have to mention. In our research and all, if we do survey, primary data, we'll put a primary data. If it is secondary data, we'll put a source secondary data. Similarly, which formula you use, you put a source, that formula. For example, I gave you the example of De Morgan's law. Source, De Morgan's law. Like that you have to mention. Okay. Now you convinced, ma'am?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? So with this, we can close the session. Now, again, on behalf of organizers, we very much thankful to Dr. Lakshmi Madam, Director and Head, KSR School of Management, KSR Rangasamy College of Technology, Tirchangur, given a very great lecture, ma'am, regarding ethics in research, how to conduct. It actually it is a good idea for basic researchers as well as the researcher pursuing researchers. So we are very happy to listen your lecture because the time we are not seeing the time. So that was a very flow. That flow of presentation also very nice. So, Madam, on behalf of again, once again, we are thankful to you. For any queries from the participants, you can just get back to you, ma'am. Ma'am, can I have your email? Now the screen share is there. I can type, then I can note it down.
Okay,
email
sir.
ID, KSR.
Director MBA.
Director MBA.
At ksrct.ac.in.
Okay.
All small letters.
Yes, madam. So I have written the email ID. I have shared. So any clarification regarding further clarification, you can get back to Madam. Already we said she is very helpful mind. So that is what you can use him for conducting any economics and social researchers aspects. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your given opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Once again, I thank the Biotechnology Department and Natural Science Foundation for providing me once again opportunity for that. Thank you so much. I also enjoyed the session. Thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants can give your feedback in the session. So tomorrow, once again, we will be doing the same time. As well as if you have any queries, you can put in the chat box.
Okay, sir. Now?
Yeah, okay, because sir, chat box is also available. If that is case, we can also pass on to them.
Sir, there is some problem. Hello, am I audible, sir?
Tell me, bro.
Actually, this is it's saying that those who are guests, they cannot write anything on the chat box. So it's written only for the members. So how can I, if I have any query, how can I reach out to you people? I mean, organizers, if you kindly say.
Actually, it was working. No, the chat box is working actually for most of them.
Okay.
Yeah, so because near to the phone, you can see the webinar.
No,
then
sir.
Box is
for all the people who are joining as guests, it is not chat box is not enabled.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Chat box is not enabled only for the guest, at least as far as I can say.
Yet even I am not able to see any chat box.
Okay. Anyhow, we will check it up, madam.
Yes, yes. Actually, chat box is not at all enabled right from the day one. I am trying to just text it there in case raising my hands or do something. That is not enabled. What all is right, sir.
Yeah, we will check it and we will get back to you.
Please, sir. Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you all. So hope you are getting all the lecture YouTube also. As well as whoever is sharing the presentation, we are sharing to the presentation also.
Please. Okay, thank you.
With the consent of them, we are sharing all the details. Everything.
Yeah, Professor, especially Professor Sandhu, I am particular to have his PPT because it's useful because I am an IQS coordinator I will not be using it for anything, because only to educate the teachers, preparing for the NAC as far as all